real quick. There's a vibration and energy out and about the last few days. Does it feel like more spring than it does autumn? Or is it just me? I mean, I'm sitting out here now, t-shirt on, it's October, but within me, it feels like spring, rebirth, something new. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know. I do know. Okay? Told y'all. Told y'all. But reason I got on, I ain't gonna have nothing deep or nothing, nothing from beyond. I'm just gonna give you a quick little experience I had. What gets my freak going is the ethereal realm. Communicating with spirits, seeing spirits, angels, deities, demons, if you want to call them demons, but the lower ones, you know. So, I was doing my breathing exercise, and as I was clearing my throat chakra, clearing the throat, I asked if anyone wanted to sit with me tonight. Instantly, I heard this music. Bum, 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 ba-dum. Bum, bum, ba-da, da-da, dum. Bum, bum, ba-dum. Bum, bum, ba-da, da-da, da, 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 da. I mean, I heard it so much, I started singing that song. And so, if you don't know, youngins and everything, or you do know, that's to Sanford and Son, Mr. Red Fox himself. Yes, me and Red had a conversation. All right, and it went this way. I was like, Red Fox, you coming to talk with me tonight? And I heard, yeah, motherfucker. Like, wow, okay. And I said, well, why are you coming to me tonight? What's going on? What are you bringing me? And he said, we're seeing you getting ready to start something new. Something they ain't gonna understand. Something that they ain't gonna want to understand. He said, I came to tell you, give it to them raw. I said, raw? He said, yeah, give it to them raw. His own words, okay? Because he said, look at comedy before he came along. It was take your girlfriend to church comedy, okay? Then you were hoping you got lucky. He said he came along and he started giving it to him raw and real. And he said after his shows, they were throwing him up, okay? Throwing it at him, okay? So I was like, okay, give it to him raw, all right? And he says, when someone asks you, well, what you about? He says, you just tell them this. I'm about getting my shit, leaving your shit alone, not caring about your shit, and not hoping you caring about my shit, and going on with life. And I was like, okay. And so I was like, all right. I was like, Red, um, you in heaven, right? And he was like, yeah, I'm in heaven. And I was like, do they smoke in heaven? He looked at me and he said, if they didn't, I wouldn't be there. And I was like, okay. And he said, the wine is very good as well. I was like, oh, the wine. And he said, yeah, the wine is very good. And I was like, okay, the wine is very good. But then he looked at me and he said, I guess the butter lady didn't make it. And I said, why you say that? He said, we got a ton of oil, but no butter. I was like, well, what you need butter for? He said, the bread is dry. I was like, the bread is dry, huh? Yep. But he He said, the wine is good. I was like, okay. And he said, one thing they don't tell you, stay away from the grapes. I said, away from the grapes? What you mean stay away from the grapes? He said, they got grapes in heaven. Luscious, beautiful, succulent, even the smell of them. Once you taste them, you're addicted. You can't stop. And I was like, wow, the grapes, huh? And he said, yeah. He said, but the worst thing they don't tell you is that these grapes keep you clean and holy. And I said, clean and holy? He said, yeah. They clean you out. And I was like, okay. And then after that, he said he's getting ready to go, but then Richard shows up. And I'm like, Richard? He was like, yeah. And all he kept saying is, stay away from the grapes. And I was like, I heard him. He said, stay away from the grapes. Red looks at him, and he says, yeah, he knows they're bad, but this man just keeps eating the grapes. And I was like, okay, stay away from the grapes when we get to heaven. You'll be clean and holy. All right? So then next thing you know, the character of Jad Clampett comes up. And I said, Jad, what you doing with these guys? How are you? And he says, you have to know some things to know how he became an entity. I was like, okay, but we ain't dealing with that. Jad Clampett, okay? I said, Jad, why you hanging out with Red and Richard here? And he says, these two have a rivalry going on. I said, a rivalry? He said, yeah, the rivalry going on. And I said, okay. They're trying to see who could tell the better joke. And I said, okay. He says, all I do is sit and I whittle on a piece of gold. I'm a master whittler, okay? And I said, okay. He said, I cut myself twice because I laughed so hard. I was like, wow. Okay. How about a little sample of what you heard? He said, okay. He proceeded with Richard first. He says, Richard looked at Fred one day and said, hey, Fred, why does St. Peter sit at the pearly gates? Fred looked at Richard and said, why? He said, that's the last toilet you're going to see when you come in here. Remember them grapes? And so, okay. So, Fred, not to be outdone, looks at Richard and says, why do the angels cry, holy, holy, holy? And he said, why? Because they ate them damn grapes. And he said, okay. Richard looks to Fred and says, I got you. Why does God sit on the throne? Fred looked at him with disdain and said, why? Because after he made the grapes, he was the first to sample them. So, now you know this is Jad talking. So he says, just when I think Richard won, Fred turns around and says, why is the devil in hell? Richard looked a little stumbled and said, why? Because he said that's the only way he can keep his ass away from them grapes. Y'all have a good one. I hope y'all like that.